What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. So grateful for everyone who has subscribed, who keeps on commenting and liking and sharing with your friends. Thank you so much. We are at 150 subscribers in less than a week, so that is really good. So continue sharing, continue liking, continue subscribing so that we get to reach a higher number of subscribers. So in today's video, we'll talk more about Patricia Nudi, that is me. So we'll talk more about me. As you know, this is a channel where we inspire people, and we inspire people through telling them our real life stories, and also just making sure that we know that we don't over glamorize our lives to an extent that people do not know that we have passed through stuff. So my life pretty much began in some village somewhere in Western Kenya, and I was born in a family of faith. My dad is a pastor, and so for pastor's kid, you know that there is really pretty much a lot that you're not told, but that you need to adhere to. So there are written and unwritten rules, and unsaid and said rules. And so you sort of live life really second guessing everything that you do, so that then you do not become a subject of ridicule. So that was my childhood. I remember going to with my mom to fellowship at a very young age. I didn't quite really understand some of the things that I used to do, but I did them just because you grew up in that home. I grew up in this environment that we used to pray every time, read the Bible, and our home was pretty much open to everyone. So we had so many people in our home, and it was just really a selfless kind of life that I was introduced to at a very young age. So my primary life was pretty much a normal kid's life. But what I realized is that from very early on, my dad really stressed on good education, and so we went to the best schools given our social status. So I did not experience studying in a rural area. My dad really tried so hard, and my mom as well tried really so hard to make sure that we got the best education. And so I finished my primary school, went to high school, and that's when everything began to unfold. I came out of a protected environment and was thrust into an environment that was not really I don't know how to make it. I think the people who've gone to boarding school would know that you get there and you get culture shock, there is peer pressure. You don't have your parents there to protect you anymore, so everything goes. And I think that is the point that I got into a lot of peer pressure and a lot of just self-discovery, really getting to know yourself, getting to know your environment, and getting to interact with people in a level that I didn't interact with them before, like living with a huge number of people who you live with consistently for quite a number of years. So I remember getting into school a little bit late, later on in the term. So I got in when we were almost doing our exams, and my deskmate then got into some sort of trouble. And when this was reported to the teacher sort of told her that do not interact with Patricia. Patricia is a bad girl. And I was taken aback by that statement, because I didn't really, up to that point, I had not gotten into any problems. I was just barely a week old in school, so I was wondering, what is it about me that then made this teacher to conclude that I was a bad girl? And so I think subconsciously I started living out that tag of being a bad girl, and just really getting into quite a bit of trouble. And part of it is just because you were found in a wrong place at the right time or at the wrong time. I don't know, but there was just really so much issues, and they escalated when I was in my Form 3. So in my Form 3, I was accused of so many things that I didn't really, some of them were just so misguided that I didn't really understand what was going on up until that moment. And so I was like a 17-year-old with so much questions in my head, and just asking myself, then what is it about me that then makes it very easy for me to get into trouble, even when I didn't preempt that sort of trouble. So I had a phone in school. To cut a long story short, I had a phone in school. There's a group of girls that also really just, I don't know what was going on. Everything just happened so fast, and someone snitched, and during the closing ceremony, I was told to remain behind, and I just instantly knew that something was going down. And so everyone had gone, the people who are remaining for detention. So we had this thing in school that if you did not perform well, you would remain in school. So the people who had remained in school had remained, and the people who were going left. And then so I was left there. I didn't know what was really expected of me. At that point, I didn't really have that phone. It had gone. So I had given someone, because immediately I was called, I knew something was cooking. Because I had seen some things happening on the lead up to that. So I left school. I was told to wait, but I left. So when I came home, I told my dad that I'm not going back to that school. And I think in that moment, my dad really kept on waiting for me to change my mind, and that did not really happen. And he was just really so disappointed. I think my parents were in this space that we raised you right, we don't actually know what is going on, but they didn't. It was just a very rough moment of my life, and I think part of what solidified the person that I am today. So I told my parents that, you know, a school does not pass exams, it's an individual that passes exams. And it was very difficult, I won't lie. I went to a day rural school, and for the first time I was stepping into a rural school. And I think my parents were really confused they really tried to give me my best, and sort of everything was crumbling right in that moment. And so I did my exams in that school. So I got in Form 3 of third term. So I got in Form 3 third term. I did my exams at Form 4. I passed. Not the best that I could do, but I think I did try. And I joined law school. And at law school, I think what happened is my whole personality, I think, coming off of what happened to me in Nia, because almost everyone who snitched during that moment was actually people that were really close. And so I think something happened that made me fear socializing. I didn't really socialize much for my campus life. I kept to myself most of the times. I barely got into any trouble, apart from those few moments that when I saw an injustice happen to anyone. That happens to me a lot, that when I see an injustice happening, something within me ticks, and I always feel like they need to act. So apart from those moments that were also very countable, I was very quiet for the better part of my campus life. So fast forward to 4th year, I realized that I am pregnant, and like everything was a bit so hazy in that moment. I felt like I had failed everyone, and I had gone against all the principles that I was taught. I felt that I could not go back from that because up until that moment I had been the queen of comebacks. So something happens, I come back out of it. Something happens, I try to find a way of modeling myself and going past whatever happened. And so at this moment everything was so hazy, and I didn't really understand how I would ever get out of that mess that I had gotten myself into. So I finished my 4th year exams. I came back home. Up until that moment, I had not told my parents anything. No one knew. During the first weeks of my pregnancy, I thought I had typhoid and malaria. I kept on medicating, and I realized I was pregnant when I was home. So like when I tested for the pregnancy test. So I decided to get a plan of not even dealing with it, not telling my parents, not doing anything that would jeopardize my relationship with them. And so I decided to go to Nairobi. And the best thing for me to do, because I didn't know anyone really in Nairobi and I couldn't stay with relatives, I decided to go and live with the baby's daddy for a while, until I could get my foot and see what I could do with my life. So right up until that moment, I got into Nairobi and I was like, this is strange. I did not know what the concept of marriage really even looks like. I was 22 at the time. I was not even supposed to be there in the first place because I didn't really understand what was going on, and partly it was because I was very young, but also because I lived in a very protected space that I had not really trained myself to take much of responsibilities when it comes to very major things, and part of it was because I was still a child really at 22. So I got into this space of serious depression, lack of self-worth. I did not know what to do with myself, and when my child came, I didn't even know what really happened. Like I was like in this space where I was trying to reconnect with myself spiritually, but I also just was not ready, and that is what most mothers never want to accept, that when the child came they were not ready. I was clearly not ready for the responsibilities of a child, and so I just was living this life of just self-pity really. I pitied myself a lot. I beat up myself so much. I was in a space, a terrible space, and I could not even blame anyone for whatever was going on. It was just I made choices that I should not have made during that period of my time. And so there was a time that I was seated down and my baby was crying so much because of because of that phase. I think just when they are young, there's always that phase. And so I sat myself down and I told myself I could either wallow in self-pity or I could decide to pick up myself and try to do something with my life. And I started selling. During that time I was selling mtumba clothes. I was delivering them to my clients, and I did this throughout my pregnancy and up until the point that I was going to give birth, a day to the time I gave birth. And so I told myself, but my life was about so much more than just selling tumba and all that. And I am not despising anyone that does that. I'm just saying that I felt there was something more. And in that moment, I asked myself so many questions, because at that moment I didn't go to Kenya School of Law because I was in between pregnancy and delivery and all that. And so I asked myself, what can I do? And I kept on talking to my dad after the birth of the child, which is a story for another day. I'll just make a vlog of my pregnancy, delivery, and how I recovered and healed from that experience. But I was speaking to him during this moment, and one day he asked me, what really do you want to do? And at that moment I had narrowed down my mind to going to Kenya School of Law, but I also told myself that now I have responsibility and I cannot really go for a full-time course right now and just leave everything like my life is the same. My life was never going to be the same again. I had a whole responsibility in a child that I needed to take care of, and I'm not the person to pass on responsibilities to people. So I was like, I just needed to woman up and do this thing. And so I came back to Kisumu during that time, and I told my dad. I felt that I really disappointed them, and even making that move to come back, it really had to take a lot of convincing from my dad for me to be able to do it. And so I came back, I talked to my mom and my dad about it, and just was really in this phase of asking for forgiveness, but I also really wanted to bounce back, because I was looking at my child. What I did was a mistake at that time, but my child was not really a mistake. And so for me to make sure that this turned out well, I needed to bounce back. I needed to make her know that she was really not a mistake, and so she deserved the best, and that was what I was going to give her. In this moment, I didn't even know what I was going to do, quite frankly. I told my dad, get to any connection that you have, get me something to do. It does not have to be glamorous, and that's what I told him. I just needed something to make an income. And so my dad talked to her friend and his friend, and he referred me to an organization that I volunteered for. And as I began working, and even the first encounter with the CEO of the said organization, I felt like there was more. I got into that room and she welcomed me in a way that I did not expect, but also I felt that it was not over for me. Like she just gave me so much inspiration, but above all, she gave me a chance to volunteer at her organization. And deep down I was like, I can't fail myself, I can't fail my child, I can't fail God, but also I can't fail this incredible woman who gave me a chance. And so I volunteered for a while. But I got to a point that I started asking myself, because that period was hard. It was hard because I did not have much, and I needed to move, and the organization that I was working with, from home, it was around 10 kilometers or more. So then I needed to board a matatu and two matatus to get to the place that I was working. I needed to buy diapers for my baby. I needed to get sustain myself without really depending on my parents, because although they were so much supportive, I just needed to prove that I could do this and that I got it. I made a mistake, yes, but I got this. And so I got to a point I started asking myself that this is nice, because there were moments that I literally walked from where I used to work to a certain location so that I could get a cheaper means to go to, home. So like walk halfway, and then you can be able to board a matatu halfway, so that then you also save. But the defining moment for me was when I went back home one day. I didn't want to tell my parents that I didn't have money, but for the first time I didn't have diapers for my child, and we were sleeping with her, so we were co-sleeping. And so at night, in the middle of the night, she woke up and she was wet where she was sleeping, and that was very foreign to her. And so she really cried, and I could not. It was because I could not afford diapers that day. And I think in that moment something ticked in my brain. I was like, we are not going to ever be this low. Like, this is the lowest that we'll ever be. And so I picked up myself and I told myself, it doesn't matter whether I go and wash a loo somewhere, it doesn't matter what I do, my child will not lack because of my mistakes. And so I went to the organization that I was working with, and I just said, my time for volunteership is up. So maybe I just to be grateful for the opportunity, because I got to learn so much. And what really took me to that organization, I accomplished, because I wanted to really get to understand the health part of law. So that was something I had accomplished, but I needed money. I needed to get a job. So my time was up, and so I needed to just go out there and get a job. And that's when I was told there's an opportunity that is coming up, so stay on. And I can literally tell you, from the moment that I gave my child a promise to the moment that I had my first paycheck, it was less than, it was within a month or something. And so I just got to this point that I realized that I could do it. Holding that first check, because I was being paid as a consultant, there was so much running through my head in that moment that I didn't really even grasp the moment in terms of the money. It was not about the money. It was about, Patricia, you can do it. You have proved over and over that you can always bounce back, and this is your moment for you to realize that you can do it right this moment, and it does not matter what you have done or how hard you've fallen. There's always hope, and there's always time for you to come back. And so that then, I think, was a very defining moment in leading up to the person that I am today. So I just really got to a point that I realized that this is life, that it doesn't matter what has happened, this is life. And life throws you things that if you lose balance because of what life has thrown you, you will never get on balance again. So it's okay to lose balance for a while, but you have to get back on track. And I think that was the moment that I got back on track. And I told myself, I am going to work hard, and I'm going to make sure that this thing, I pull it through. And so, to cut the long story short, I worked for the organization. I've built my career to a point that it's unbelievable for me that this is a period of 5 years or less, and that God has been so gracious to make me realize the promise that I gave my daughter, and that I get to inspire other girls who are in my space right now, back then, and that to just tell them that it is doable and it is possible. So I look back right now and I realize that you have the power right in your hands to do the things that you don't even imagine you could ever do. And so if you are to tell my 23-year-old something, I'll tell her that it is doable, it can be done, but also you have it in you to conquer anything that is thrown your way, because that is the person that you are. Strength is really brought out in the midst of adversity. Strength is cultivated in the midst of very tough moments, because if you have not gone through issues and tough moments, you will never really know the kind of person that you are inside. And so for me, if I have to go back and rewind my life, I will never change a thing. I have gotten to a point that I've appreciated every process that life has taken me through, and that life is yet to take me through, because then it brings out the person and the true person that you really are. I'll tell you that if I didn't get a baby at 23 years old, I would not be the person that I am today. If you were to tell me that 7 years back, I would laugh at you, because I would never have known how I would ever bounce back from that experience. But right now I realize that I needed that experience to be who I am. I needed that experience to be the person that I am today. My work ethic comes from that point, that I knew that I had to do this or I had to do this. And so for me, I am just here to encourage anyone out there, and I will break down my stories. I will do a series on certain things that I've learned throughout my life. I will do that. But for now, if you're on the other side and you are me back then, I would just encourage you that you need to stay the course. When people tell me that I inspire them, I always just look at myself and I don't even understand which part of me really inspires you. And there are rooms that I've walked into and I've had an imposter syndrome, like what do you think you are? Who do you think you are to be in these same spaces? So I won't tell you that those moments will not come, but I will tell you that it will be better. I will tell you that the seasons change, and time really truly heals your emotions and the things that you are struggling with, and I can assure you that better days are ahead. So stay the course, keep believing, keep the hope alive, and you will see better days ahead. So thank you everyone. I just ran through that, but I will be doing other sections to this story, and I hope that this speaks to someone out there. I hope that this is an encouragement to anyone out there right now, and I hope that you get to learn something, and that you can always hit us up in the comment box if you need any more information. If you need us to reach out to you directly or anything, feel free to reach out to us, and we will point you to the right direction at whatever stage that you are. So thank you very much. Please remember, this is not a judgment zone, so you can always reach out to us, and also stay the course and keep true to yourself and true to what you believe in. You will definitely experience better days ahead. Thank you very much.